have godly desires, the enemy can't do a thing with you. I'm supposed to be sick, but I feel the power of God. His place then was a place of prayer, because in hostile territory he had no sanctuary, he had no synagogue, he had no temple, he had no tabernacle. But I am the temple of the living God. If I gotta walk down the street, I'll make the street into a tabernacle. If I got to go in a hole, I'll make the hole into a temple. If I got to go under a tent, I'll make the tent into a sanctuary. Because it's not about the outside, it's the power that's on the inside. And I was not built to break. I feel God, I feel him here. And so now here is Daniel with courage to pray and his windows being opened. His love for God in a hostile environment and direction in prayer, he turns toward Jerusalem, the God of Israel. And then his attitude was he kneeled. I feel his whole humility and devastation, knowing your place before God. Kneeling from the word Barak, and it means to bless the blesser. I feel like preaching. Do you know you bless God because he blesses you, and you bless him and he will bless you? And then he was regular in prayer. I feel the Spirit of God moving. The place of prayer was his house. The courage of prayer was when he opened his windows. The direction of prayer was toward his God. The attitude of prayer, he was on his knees. The regularity of prayer, he did it the same way he used to do it. The thanksgiving of prayer, because you can't talk to God and not give him his praise. Because as good as you think you look, when he shows up, you got to give him his praise. And the continuance in prayer is I always have done it and I always will do it, no matter who you think you are. God, I feel it here. And that's why his enemies are the ones who wrote his best script. The best compliment that ever came will come from your enemies. When your enemies can't find no fault in you except for the fact that you love the Lord, if they can't find no fault in you except for the fact that you love to worship and love to praise, and if we're gonna bring him down, we got to bring him down in church, because we can't catch him in the club. I feel like preaching. If we're gonna assassinate him, we got to kill him in the house of God, because we ain't gonna find him on the street. So the only place we got to go, you know it's bad when the only place your enemies can get to you is in the house of God. I dare not try to hurt you, a child of God, in the presence of God, because when God is on your side, the only time they can get to you is not when security is gone. They got to get rid of God in order to get rid of you, and can't nobody move God from watching over his children. I feel a breakthrough coming. I'm almost there. I'm almost there. Give somebody a high five and say, if I'm guilty of anything, I'm guilty of worship, I'm guilty of praising God, I'm guilty of loving God, and my enemies are writing my best script. So it's out of your hands, Daniel, because the king tried everything he could in order to straighten it out, because because he knew they had used him against his favorite person. Can I preach like I feel it? The enemies will use everybody around you in order to get to you. That's why you gotta watch the motives of people when they start asking you about other folk that you love. And we got to tell them, don't talk about certain people. I will not indulge you to talk about who I love. I will not say a word for you to take something back and use it against the person I love. Well, they used the king to sign the decree, and once it was signed, no matter how he begged them, they would not back up. You know, folk can hate you so much that if you offer them a bribe, they don't want it. If you send an advocate, they will not listen because they want you dead. I feel like preaching in here. Give somebody a high five. Say, they wanted me dead, but I'm still here. They wanted me crazy, but I'm still clothed and in my right mind. They wanted me broke, and every time I drive up, they're going crazy mad. They wanted me down, but my spirit is still up because I got favor with God. Come on, Pat, we might as well have church. Give somebody a high five for the second time and say, the favor I have, the world can't take it. The enemy can't take it. The devil can't take it, because not only does he give me favor, he guards the favor he gives. Can I preach like a feeling? I want to digress for a minute. Hold that organ, Pat. When I think about Daniel and I think about the outcome of the situation, I'm forced to think about Mordecai and Haman. I got to go to Haman and Mordecai because Haman was an Agagite, and an Agagite is an Amalekite, and God told Saul, you better go down and utterly destroy the Amalekites and take care of the king Agag. But Haman is a descendant of Agag. Touch somebody for the third time and say, your enemies will always be your enemies because they're coming from generations. I feel the Holy Ghost. They didn't like your grandfather. They didn't like your mama. They didn't like your daddy. And they sure ain't gonna like you. And that's why God told him, wipe them out, because he prefigured that Haman would come and wipe him out. Can I preach like I feel it? So Haman, the king, goes to bed and he wakes up in the middle of the night. This is Ahasuerus, and he wakes up and finds out that it was Mordecai that kept the assassins from taking his life. And then he remembers that he hasn't done anything for Mordecai. So he says, I want to bless Mordecai, but how do I bless him? So he said, who is in the court? They say Haman is in the court, but Haman is an enemy of Mordecai, because he's already built a gallows in his house to hang him. And the king says to Haman, I want to bless somebody. How do I bless him? And Haman believed that the blessing was coming to him. So he said, take one of your robes, king, and put it on his back. Get him a horse and let him ride into Jerusalem, and ride into the palace. And what the king said to him was, I tell you what you do, exactly what you told me to do it to Mordecai. I feel like preaching. Now I want you to stay with me. What God did for you was what your enemies wanted for themselves. He turns around and gives it to you. Can I preach like I feel it? He turned around and gave Mordecai what Haman wanted for himself. Now Haman builds a noose to Mordecai, and he ends up on the same noose that he built for Mordecai. Here's what God told me to tell you. He says, what your enemies want for themselves, he will give it to you. And what your enemies want to do to you, he will do it to them. Must I say that again? What your enemies want for themselves, he will bless you with it. And what they want to do with you, he will do it to them. That's why he prepareth a table in the presence of my enemies. And I got no better sense than to eat it all up. Get somebody high five and say, neighbor, the Lord has given me favor. I got favor in the street, favor in the home, favor in the hand of the enemies. I feel like preaching in here. I feel like lifting him up. I feel like telling the enemy, keep on doing what you're doing so God can show me how powerful he is. The king is nervous, fasting all night long, and he says to Daniel, is he able to bring you out? The God you've been praying to every day of your life. Get somebody high five and say, my prayers will be answered. The Lord I serve will bring me out. Is he able? Is he able? Is he able? Is he able? Yes, he's able. And I heard Daniel holler in the morning, O King, live forever. The God I serve is able. I'm still here. He shut the mouth of every lion. Get somebody high five. So you're going through hell, but God's got an angel shutting the mouth. You can't touch him. You can't touch her. You can't touch him. You. Get out of the way. Look at somebody. Say, I'm walking through snake pits, but the snakes can't touch me. The lions can't bite me. The gorillas can't kill me because I am praising God in the middle of my trial. I am lifting him up in the middle of my storm, and he's able. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. Get somebody high five. Say, I'm not breaking down. I'm breaking out.